How's everybody doing? Thanks for stopping by. Um, so there's a lot of drama going on at the moment with Xbox and Game Pass prices. And I want to give my thoughts on it. And the reason for that is because I've been gaming since the 80s. And I started on a ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, had the Nintendo, had the Super Nintendo, had the Sega Saturns, all that sort of stuff. So I've watched gaming at its best, right? So the subject that I want to touch on today is Xbox and what it's doing wrong. But hold your horses for the Sony fans, which is like myself, because Sony can, yeah, just sit your turn. I'll get to you in a minute. Right, but I do want to begin with PlayStation. Um, so PlayStation released 1st of December, the 3rd of December, 1994. I remember being in university at the time, and we all queued up to go and get it, and then we shared it between dorm rooms. And back then, gaming was a real niche thing to do. So you would get magazines for Nintendo, Sony, and they would have demo discs on them. And if at that time you couldn't afford to buy a game, at least you had the demo, right? So gaming was awesome. Xbox came along in 2001, 7 years later after PlayStation's launch. Now, by this time, Nintendo weren't really making home consoles because they couldn't compete with Sony. So Nintendo went the handheld, which is doing phenomenal at the moment. I think it's actually outselling PS5. That's great stuff. So along comes Xbox, and it's a rival directly to Sony. Now, competition in gaming is good, right? Because it keeps prices low, it keeps game developers busy and active, making games for profit for the company. And Nintendo had PlayStation had its dedicated games like Crash Bandicoot, Jack and Dexter's, all them sort of things, and Xbox had theirs with the Gears of Wars and all them sort of things that come along later. Now, the problem is that as time has gone on, greed has kicked in. So I'm going to pretty much skip up to date rather than dragging you through a history lesson. The biggest problem that Microsoft have got and why you all have got a Game Pass increase, and this is a fact, is because Xbox keeps spending Microsoft profits. Microsoft and Xbox are doing different things. Microsoft existed was since the 90s, and it builds computer software. Started by Bill Gates. The whole thing, you all know the history lesson. But when they decided to go into Xbox, any funding for an Xbox franchise or purchase comes directly from Microsoft, and its executives and its directors, right? Now they're all about the profit. They don't care about gaming. Now the problem is Microsoft have spent 100, close to 100 billion pounds, billion of Microsoft's money, right? They purchased Bethesda for 7.5 billion, just so they could have the rights to your Fallouts and your Skyrims and all that sort of stuff. But the problem is Bethesda are not a great company. They never were a great company. I'm sorry about that, guys. They're not. The biggest purchase they made to date was Activision Blizzard, where they spent 69 billion. That means that in the past 5 years, Xbox have spent 76.5 billion pounds of Microsoft's money. Now, I know Sarah Bond made a video where she's like, oh, Xbox made 5 billion in profit. Okay, cool. But that'd take you, what, 18 years to pay back at that rate to Microsoft, all the investors, the money you borrowed. They're not waiting 18 years. I'll tell you that right now. So that is the reason Game Pass has gone up in price, is because the purchases that Phil Spencer has made were done to sort of spite Sony, if that makes sense, so that Xbox has the stronger hold on the games. But the problem is, Call of Duty has been dying off the map for a long time, right? And I'll give you another fact to do with Call of Duty, and you can Google this fact. 82% of Call of Duty sales come from PlayStation. So if Xbox suddenly decide to keep Call of Duty to themselves, an exclusive, they'd lose 82% of their sales. And the reason being is Game Pass. Game Pass is a good thing for consumers. It's not a good thing for developers. And it's clearly not a good thing for Xbox either. You see, on PlayStation, we have PS Plus, right? Now, PS Plus was created out of greed from Sony, and it was basically just their way of charging us to play games online. We don't really get any extra benefits from that. We might get a skin pack or a small little something that once in a blue moon a developer puts out, and they're like, oh, if you've got PS Plus, you can have this free little thing, and it's always worthless, by the way. But PS Plus was invented to charge us Sony fans to play online with other people. We don't have day one releases. In fact, we have to pay full price for all our games. So I've got a back catalogue of like 1,300 games, which is PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I own all of them because I've had to buy them, right? So the big difference in Game Pass, where you're paying £30 a month, if you intend to play games, and I'll get to game costs in a minute, and you know that you're a regular game player, then £30 a month from somebody who's a Sony person, that still seems cheap, right? Whereas on PlayStation, we have to pay full price for a game, and then we have to pay for PS Plus to play it online. And we might not even like the game when it releases, or it might release broken, right? But we've still had to buy it, which means the developers get all their money, which means they can, build future games. I will say Sony are not faultless when it comes to spending either. So the problem with Sony is they've tried to get into the live service gaming market, right? And they spent £400 million making Concord, which was a woke piece of crap, which didn't sell, got pulled off the shelves. 400 million, nearly £500 million, right? But then they also bought Bungie, who everybody that's Xbox knows Bungie. Well, Sony bought Bungie for, let me see here, £3 billion, £3.4 billion. And Bungie don't even create exclusive games for PlayStation. That was said in the contract. We're not going to build exclusive games for you. So why did Sony invest nearly £4 billion buying them? That an absolute joke, or what? So between Bungie and then Concord, that's nearly, give or take, £4 billion that Sony have wasted. The difference is they're not borrowing it from Sony Corp, as in Sony Music, Sony Film. So it actually comes from Sony's budget, right? And the reason that I'm bringing up why Xbox is, to me, as a PlayStation gamer, still better than PlayStation offerings on the PS Store. I've explained PS Plus doesn't give any benefits. It just allows you to go online. You do have certain tiers where you can access a back catalogue of games, but as a PlayStation game, you would just buy them games anyway. You wouldn't ever buy PS Plus for a back catalogue of games that you can buy for cheap. But I do want to quickly touch on some upcoming games. And these are the prices on PlayStation as of today, the 11th of the 10th, 2025. And it's this. The next Call of Duty coming out, the base edition is £70. The Call of Duty Vault Edition is £100. Flight Simulator, which is a port from Xbox, the base edition is £70. Then you've got another edition, the Deluxe, for £100. Then you've got another edition for £130. And get ready for this one. You've got the Aviator edition, which is £200. So if you're on Game Pass, you can pay £30 and play that. On PlayStation, we've got to pay up to £200 to get the Ultimate Edition, the Aviator edition. Stalker 2, another Xbox port, £65. Stalker 2 Ultimate, £95. Battlefield 6, £70. Battlefield Phantom Edition, £100. FC26, £70 for the base or £100 for the Ultimate Edition. I'm also going to put this out there and say that I've got an estimate for Grand Theft Auto 6 when it releases. And my estimate is this: £80 for the base version, £120 for the Deluxe Edition, and £150 to £200 for the Ultimate Edition. Because don't think Grand Theft Auto is releasing and it's not going to be greedy. I mean, Grand Theft Auto, you won't see another one of them for 15 years. I mean, everybody will be on like PS8 or PS9 by the time the next GTA releases. Now, here's another statistic to give you at the towards the end of the video and end of my thoughts. I checked Steam to see the profit margin they're on. Now, Steam is a marketplace. It's just where everybody puts the games, right? But Steam made £10.8 billion in profit, right, this year. and they don't make games, they don't create them, they're just market share plays. So in my closing thoughts, sitting back thinking about Xbox and PlayStation, is this. I was watching a guy the other day called AGN and giving his thoughts on Game Pass. Is it viable? And I agree with him on a lot of stuff. I do. I really do agree with him. You see, the point is, from anybody on PC or PlayStation, we can see that Xbox gamers are renting games. You're not buying them, right? And that's a good deal for you. It is not a good deal for the investors. It is not a good deal for the game companies who need money to make future games. It's not a good deal for them at all. The one thing that I can't figure out when it comes to Xbox is you've got Microsoft saying that they need to increase the price of your Game Pass to £30 to cover the cost of Call of Duty, but yet you're selling it on PlayStation, and 82% of your sales come from PlayStation. So surely PlayStation's making up that gap that Xbox people are not buying the game, right? They're just on the Game Pass thing. And then that brings me to thinking about the next consoles that are coming out. I don't care if Xbox and PlayStation have Elon Musk's rockets shoved up their ass. I really don't care how fast the consoles are. I don't. And the reason is there are no games. Everything on the games it's slop. It's AI slop every time you look at it. Is your Game Pass worth it for £30 a month? When you look at the store, do you see brand new games on a daily basis? Because I'll tell you, on PlayStation, we don't. We get AI generated crap, right? And then I look at the price of the next consoles, and you've got people saying, oh, it'll be cheaper than PS5 Pro. It'll be cheaper than last Xbox. No, it won't. Come on, get real. If they put something like a 5090 in the computer and it releases in 2 years, number one, it's 2 years out of date compared to PC anyway. But number two, you're talking £1,000. I'm telling you now, for the base edition of either Xbox or PlayStation is going to be £1,000. And then the Pro version, especially for PlayStation, you're going to be talking about £1,500. At that price, with the price of the games I've just told you, and then add whichever subscription you're on, be it PS Plus or Game Pass, are the consoles worth that price? Because the only way I see of any console making it to have itself a good future is to incorporate Steam, right? So that if Sony are not releasing games, you can at least go onto Steam on your console and use Steam to play your games. Same with Xbox, incorporate Steam. The problem that I see coming with incorporating Steam is obviously a lot of games are on betas and alphas and they get patched every day. Well, you can't patch a console every day. That's a logistical nightmare, take my word on that one. But that, for me, is the only way I see Xbox or Sony having a really, really good future, is to incorporate the Steam database and allow us even to just have the games that release in full, if we can't have the alphas and betas, just the games in full, and have Steam as a service, do on the console. But that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'm tired of seeing the console wars, guys. I am, because of the price of these consoles, and then the price of the games, and then the price of the subscription on top. It's getting to a point, it's not a hobby anymore, it's a job that you've got to go out. And if you're paying £100 a game, what's that, half a day's wage? A day's wage to some people. It's not cheap anymore, guys. You all need to stop fighting each other and come together as gamers. That's how it started back in the 90s. Gamers would queue outside shops overnight for certain games or consoles. Don't understand how mentality changed so much. That said, I'll catch you on the next video, guys. Until then, take care of each other and stop arguing. Ta-ta.